I do very much like Carr and appreciate his very detailed approach to his writing and how every album seems to have a very fully realized concept that you really would not find from many other artists, just in general in music, not even just hip-hop music, but in, the world of music. He truly is one of a kind, and certainly deserves to be a celebrated artist in music today. I have no doubts in that, but personally there are aspects of his music that tend to disengage me. I'm not fully on board with the way his tracks tend to sound, and this new album, Descendants of Cain, was very much that down to a T. It just wasn't an enjoyable musical experience for me. So instead of going through all of that in a video and just being, pretty negative throughout, I thought, why not get someone on the video who is just very much a lover of his music and can describe exactly what it is that makes Carr so special. So for a fairly special one-off type video today, we have George from Arcadia, who is going to be talking about the new Carr album in a pretty in-depth review. So I do hope you enjoy it, and show George some respect and love on social media. Go follow his Twitter page. He is very active on there, constantly sharing different types of music, and he's generally a really nice guy. So I'm glad that he came on the channel today to do this video, and I hope you enjoy his review. So yeah. See you later. Bye.
Hello, my name is George, and I'm doing a guest review for my good friend Ryan. I run a semi-active music discussion platform. It's called Arcadia, with blog posts and radio episodes, which have unfortunately been put on hold by everything going on right now, of course. So a lot of what I have to say at the moment can be found on my Twitter. Ryan will, I'm sure, leave my Twitter handle and a link to my website in the description below, and you can definitely expect some more content soon. Anyway, let's get to Carr, Descendants of Cain. Carr is a Brownsville, New York rapper who anyone who follows underground rap music will hopefully be familiar with at this point. His very enigmatic and low-key delivery has won over and polarized people before. Carr being boring has almost become a bit of a meme, but honestly, I've always seen his voice as being more calmly menacing than disconnected or dull, yet also carrying a sort of aged wisdom, like you're listening to this man who's just been so weathered down by all his troubling life experiences, but yet still has a very real and poetic purpose. And it's that menace and tension in his music that I feel has so far best been captured on the very murky and gritty album, The Night Gambit, in 2013. These days, you know what you're getting from a Carr album. You're getting harsh, vivid depictions of hardship and violence, each time presented through the prism of a different concept, or a different lens, if you will, which I guess helps to differentiate his albums, given the actual subject matter and approach isn't all that different from album to album, which is fine, given there's enough in the music to still be entertaining. On his last two efforts, we got samurais and Greek mythology. Now on this new record, we're getting the overarching theme of Christianity, with most of the skits that play through the album, of course, relating to the Cain and Abel story. For instance, he draws parallel with familial or simply friendly portrayal in his life to the killing of Abel by Cain's hand. I'd say the biblical parallels Carr draws are pretty fitting, given how unforgiving the world of the Old Testament was, and how that fits with the terrifyingly uncertain and harshly consequenced life that Carr depicts. In general, the concept is a pretty loose one. There's no real narrative or story to follow in the lyrics here. It's more just those little allusions and references that make your ears perk up and go, oh, yes, clever. And let me tell you, there's a lot of that on this album. As always, in general, you're getting relentless wordplay, acrobatic internal rhyming, and just bar after bar of wittiness and thought-provoking content. This is really the central joy of listening to this album, as is sort of customary for Carr's work. If you're not a lyrics or wordplay guy and are looking for a more visceral, explosive, or kind of a less patient experience, this probably won't all be that captivating. But to those who are willing to dissect little double entendres and the potent meditations that he offers, this album will be another goldmine, I'm sure. Just to read out a few of my favourite lyrics from this album. There are so many, far too many to mention, but yeah, so We have They Said It Though, You Never Know Who Loyal Till You Caught, People I Love Blood Is in the Soil That I Walk, On 'Em Curbs, Serve the Servant, But It's Royal When I Talk. Then we've got My Birthright Like a Sumerian, Made It Out the Belly with the Cut Like a Caesarean. Pretty good. Uh, Had to Use Your Fist to Change Your Fiscal, Figuring How to Get Rich became the ritual. As teens bought full magazines if we had an issue. We all had beef, but for dinner having gristle. Then we've got, finally, another favourite, Still a Nexus to the Treacherous Gutter, Kept to Never Monochrome, My Gift Technicolor, Like the Coat of Joseph, Hope It Don't Affect My Brother, Became Man of the House Quick, Had to Protect My Mother. So as you can see, you're getting a lot of allusions to Christianity in general, as well as just the Cain and Abel story. But anyway, if we turn to the sound of this record, you're definitely getting a very soulful instrumental palette, perhaps his most soulful work to date, in fact, I'd say, with touches like those weeping guitars on Solitude of Enoch, or the soothing sample that sounds like a warm hug on the closing track, I Love. This closer is a wonderfully touching tribute to figures who have positively impacted his life, each verse turning to the next from a female figure who remains sort of vague, Mimi. His mother on the second verse, which is perhaps the most cutting angle he takes. Really heartwarming lyrical moments on that verse. And then his close friend Kev, who I've actually read since, died in a car crash in 2015, which kind of adds more emotional power to that verse, I guess. And these softer moments do pop up every now and then, but for the most part, the direction and mood of this album is harrowing and eerie, I'd say. The album opens with the forlorn every now and then, with what sounds like almost medieval strings, and for Carr, I stress for Carr, a noticeably animated and urgent vocal performance, as he details vividly the contrasting perils and spoils of his life to date. The following song, Unto the Dust, ups the tension with a really quite eerie, plucky core melody, and I really like the idea he presents of how none of his friends have really passed away. They've died from horrible or violent circumstances, and the poignancy of death never really being a natural process, or one that you even have time to prepare for or anticipate the reality of, is quite cutting, I'd say. To name a few other highlights, the track Patron Saint sounds like it's crying over the hills. My Brother's Keeper has a real menace to it, and similarly, the song Pray is definitely one of the most confounding moments on, I'd say, any Carr album. It sounds almost like an ambient noise instrumental. The song feels so empty, and you get these really unsettling drones which provide the perfect backing for the sheer desperation of the chorus, begging for reprieve. May we please receive any yield. And then the kind of repetition of that really driving home the sheer plea that the song forms as. Sins of the Father has these really awesome gothic vocal loops, with one of the most urgent Rock Marciano features I've heard in a long while. And the song Old Justice blends these comforting acoustic guitar strums with these truly spiritual sounding background choral vocals. It's really a transcendent and powerful emotional moment purely off the back of that. I guess if we're talking gripes, I guess there's a pretty awkward bell noise that I think is pretty disruptive to what is already a sort of redundant instrumental. It's just mixed a little bit too loud. On the track Land of Nod, so I'd say that was probably my pick for least favourite song. Plus, I think the beat switch on the song Eye of a Needle could have been implemented more creatively or more smoothly. It's just kind of woven in after a brief kind of vocal interlude, and it just feels a little abrupt. Even if I do love both respective halves of the track, overall, I really struggle to fault this album. Sure, lyrically and tonally, you're not really getting anything particularly new from Carr, if you strip away the change of vague concept. And yes, perhaps I think he could have done a little more with the Christianity theme, given just how applicable it is to what Carr raps about. But all the same, I think this is just a thoroughly great, seamlessly flowing, consistently intelligent and thought-provoking listen, adding to what is becoming a really quite accomplished discography. I guess if I had to give it a rating, it'd be somewhere between an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Basically, I think it's really great, and definitely up there with the kind of level that we've come to expect from Carr. I guess moving forward, I'm kind of hoping that he will turn to a concept that he perhaps attacks more thoroughly. or with more kind of detail, or maybe perhaps a narrative, just to kind of make it feel a bit more like we're getting more sides of him, and a more kind of developed approach. But other than that, I think just he needs to keep doing what he's doing because he's so excellent at it. That's all I have to say on this album, really. Thank you for watching.